Coming up in the news, the Minister of Works on Grand Bahama touring a number of infrastructural projects. Also, reaction coming in on the Grand Bahama Power Company's plan to file for a rate adjustment. And motorists concerned about a pedestrian obstructing traffic. The Bahamas Tonight, the Northern Edition, starts now.
This is the Bahamas Tonight, Northern Edition.
Good evening, Bahamas. I'm Shashina Wolfarkas, and as always, it is so great to have you with us. Topping news this evening, the Minister of Works, the Honorable Alfred Sayers, wrapping up day one of an infrastructural tour of Grand Bahama late this afternoon in East Grand Bahama. Minister Sayers arrived on Grand Bahama early this morning for a two-day visit. Included in the minister's delegation heading to East Grand Bahama were Parliamentary Secretary Bacchus Roll, the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, Member of Parliament for East Grand Bahama Kwesi Thompson, and other stakeholders from the Ministry of Works. They toured key infrastructure in the Eastern District, beginning with a stop at the former University of the Bahamas campus.
We started at Waters Quay. As you know, the dock at that quay was destroyed, and a design for its reconstruction is being undertaken, and work will start with the construction of that dock. Also, we visited the McLean Town Clinic, and then we proceeded to Sweetings Quay. And you know, Sweetings Quay is, for me, when I served as Minister of Education, I had to deal with the tragedy that occurred there with the students from Martintown Primary School. We also visited the school, and again to see the devastation that has been done to the educational infrastructure. But it also was a wonderful story in terms of the international solidarity by NGOs such as CORE, who have contributed with the redevelopment and the restoration of some of the infrastructure.
Well, from there, the delegation toured Water Quay, which was severely impacted by Hurricane Dorian. To date, the island is still in need of major repairs. The minister and team also traveling to Sweetings Quay and then other key capital works and infrastructural projects in the east. The seawall in High Rock, which was virtually washed out by Hurricane Dorian, as well as the pre and primary schools, were also addressed as a plan to move forward was developed.
A lot of work has been done in terms of clearing the building and repurposing the building to establish a center of research around sustainability and resilience, and the generation in time of new knowledge that will distinguish Grand Bahama as a center of research and education.
No support from the government. That's what the Minister of Grand Bahama says as it relates to the Grand Bahama Power Company's application to the Port Authority to adjust base rates. Tonight, the minister making it clear that this strong stance is in support of business owners and potential investors. But more importantly, she says it's for Grand Bahamians who have been suffering for far too long.
As far as an increase, none of us can handle it right now. Not the people, not the businesses, not Grand Bahama Island.
This is why the Minister for Grand Bahama, the Honorable Ginger Moxie, says the government has made it clear that they will not support any rate adjustment from the Grand Bahama Power Company that spells an increase on the backs of Grand Bahamians.
It was so important for the government to show that we do not support a rate increase, because we are aware of the challenges that the people of this island have been facing for a while. And of course, it didn't just start with Hurricane Dorian, and the pandemic, it goes all the way back.
The minister says that while the government understands that this is just the filing of a rate review and no approval has been granted yet from the Grand Bahama Port Authority, she believes it is important to take an aggressive stance. The government has since constituted a cabinet committee comprising of Attorney General Ryan Pinder, Ministers Obi Wolshcombe, Alfred Sayers, Dr. Michael Darville, as well as the Minister for Grand Bahama, to review and address the matter and to ensure that the rights and interests of the residents of Grand Bahama are protected, consistent with the national energy policy.
And so this committee is going to review the application. We're going to also meet with the regulators, which is the Grand Bahama Port Authority, to really sit down and discuss this. Because again, as we indicated, we are not in support of any type of increase to any portion of the customer base.
For residential customers, some segments would see a drop in rates, while others would see no change from today's rates, and others would see proposed increases of various amounts depending on usage.
So there would be a decrease for 40% of the customers, but that's perhaps the ones that use about $100 power a month, and so many of us are outside of that category.
The minister says the challenges on this island are too great, particularly at this time.
Right now, in the midst of everything that's going on, not to mention the fact that there's already been, I would say, an increase as well based on the recovery of after Dorian. And so Grand Bahamians just can't tolerate anymore. They can't handle anymore. And so when we're talking about rate increases, there has to be not just compassionate governance, but compassion from the corporate community.
But she says another group of persons will also be affected, those in business as well as new investors.
But what it does include is the small businesses that have been trying to hold on, trying to keep people employed, trying to keep their doors open, and it's been a struggle. When you're looking to have new investors, one of the of course questions is always the energy cost, and we are not seen to be in the best standing when it comes to the cost of power.
And tonight, more opposition to the power company's application for a rate adjustment. The coalition has been leading a charge against the cost of electricity on this island for several years. Tonight, members say this application for a rate increase is most disturbing. Jamila Mizik reports.
For years, the Coalition of Concerned Citizens has been advocating for electricity costs to be lowered on the island. Back in 2015, the CCC opposed a rate application by the Grand Bahama Power Company, and despite the overwhelming opposition from residents, the rate application was approved. However, Eddie Victor says they will continue to fight for the rights of Grand Bahama residents.
As we did in 2015, the CCC will mount an intense opposition to the Emera Grand Bahama Power Company present rate application. For far too long, our people have had to suffer to the predatory, profit-driven operation of this power company. What Grand Bahama needs is economic revival, not economic oppression. The CCC commends Prime Minister Philip Davis, Minister Ginger Moxie, and along with the government of the Bahamas, for clearly stating that the government will not support any increase of electricity rates anywhere on Grand Bahama Island.
Rudolph Stubbs says he has recently seen an increase in his electricity bill and says a further rate increase is an unnecessary added burden.
When I look at a notification from the Grand Bahama Power Company saying that my bill was $212, and I went there on Tuesday and I had a hike of an additional $5, and I paid $217.30. And I questioned it. I wondered why. And they tell me, sir, that's your bill. And I still question it today because it appears as if the Grand Bahama Power Company and its regulators are imposing additional funds upon the bills.
Margot Victor is asking the Grand Bahama Power Company to revisit their strategy to increase electricity rates, and she notes that it will take a collaborative effort to fight this issue.
We need serious collaboration. We need the Reef Committee to be in collaboration with the government, the now government of the Bahamas, to be in collaboration with the power company to bring down electricity so that there is economic growth on this island. We need collaboration with the churches, collaboration with the Chamber of Commerce. Everyone needs to get on board, and we need to do serious business, or this island will not thrive. We will not go forward.
Now, the CCC will host a virtual town meeting on Thursday, November 11th, 2021 at 7 p.m. to address issues relative to the rate application and what citizens can do to fight this application. The meeting will be streamed on Zoom and on their Facebook page. Jamila Mizik, ZNS Network News.
There is a concern among Grand Bahama motorists concerning the proliferation of vagrants obstructing traffic in downtown Freeport. Video circulating have shown one vagrant directing traffic, while on another occasion one was seen in the middle of the road lying down. Tonight, police officials say that they are aware of this disturbing video that often surrounds persons battling mental issues.
The officers of the Central Division are personally addressing those matters regarding those vagrants who find themselves in the streets of Grand Bahama and creating a disturbance to the general public. They also take in a few of those males, even females, to the Round Hospital, to the Dye Ward for treatment, and short time later they're released back into the general public. Also, some of those vagrants have been arrested, placed before the courts, and was sent to the Bahamas Department of Correction.
Press Liaison Officer Stephen Roll also making an appeal to the family members of these persons as well as to the motoring public.
I want to urge members of the public who may have family members who find themselves becoming a nuisance to the streets of Grand Bahama and to the public at large to seek some kind of help and assistance to their loved ones so that we can minimize these events from happening on our streets of Grand Bahama. Advice to the general public and the motoring at large, if you're on the streets of Grand Bahama or anywhere in the Bahamas, you're still to abide by the speed limit and the laws of the road. But if they are sane while they're moving about the streets, to contact the police at 919 or 911 and report the matter. And I can assure you that the officers will be out in quick time to try and address that situation to avoid it becoming a more serious matter to be dealt with.
Meantime, 2 men shot in West End last night and listed in serious condition at the local hospital tonight. Police reports say the shooting incident unfolded shortly after 8 p.m. outside of a business establishment on Bayshore Road in West End. Initial reports say that a security officer was on the outside talking to a friend when he observed a man clad in dark clothing and wearing a dark ski mask coming from a western side of the building. The masked man produced a firearm and fired shots, hitting the security officer in the left leg and the friend in the left foot. We reached out to Assistant Superintendent of Police Press Liaison Officer Stephen Roll on this latest incident as well.
Well, initially, it came in as an armed robbery report, and based on the officer's initial investigation, it was revealed that it was not an attempted armed robbery. These are armed robbery. All we got at this point now is that they were approached by an unknown male who would have fired shots, shooting both males. Like I said, they're in the initial stage of investigation, and once they're able to determine exactly what was the cause of the shooting, we'll be able to classify and say exactly what really transpired.
Now, the victims are ages 20 and 21. However, Roll says little information is known at this time as police continue to gather information.
They're getting some information at this point. The most we can say on the description is that he is a slim male, about 5'7" to 5'8" in height. That is all we get at this point. So we will get more details as it comes in. Will be available to the media.
At this point, are you able to say if this perpetrator is known to the victims?
At this point, we cannot say. Like I said, he was fully masked, so he cannot say whether he is known by any other means.
Now, the search is on for the masked gunman and investigations are continuing. The local police are advising and appealing to anyone who have any information to come forward. Also from police tonight, the man caught on viral video attacking a female in the streets of Bimini was hauled before the court today to answer to charges. Ambrose Francis, age 48 of Bimini, appearing before Deputy Chief Magistrate Debbie Ferguson. Francis pled guilty to causing harm and was ordered to compensate the virtual complainant in the amount of $1,800 or 6 months in prison. On the charge of causing damage, he pled guilty and was ordered to compensate the virtual complainant in the amount of $200 or 6 months behind bars. As mentioned earlier, the charges related to the viral video that went viral on social media with a male beating a female in the streets on the island of Bimini. That's going to take us to our first break. Stay with us. We'll be back right after this.